Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Share the Lesson with yours truly, Charles Zimbillis. And this is episode number 8, coming to you from the Animation Academy in Burbank, California. I want to bring some exciting news to your attention, and that is that we are on Patreon. The Animation Academy is currently on Patreon, and we've been up for about a week, and I want to say a special hello to Molly, to Rhonda, to Mike, and to Kevin, who are subscribed to us on Patreon, and we're going to be working with them through the system that we're developing through that particular site. Great. I'm going to have a link to our Patreon, the Academy on Patreon, and in the description section of this video once I get it up online. Okay, we're going to be having a very interesting session with artwork that was sent to us by somebody in the Dallas, Texas area. His name is Nate, and Nate is an emerging character designer, and he sent in these samples. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to go over this and show you some of the things that Nate could be working on and becoming a little bit more conscious of, that will definitely have a positive impact on his work as he further develops his character design skills. Okay, if you refer to Share the Lesson 6 and Share the Lesson 7, where I started getting into head design and head construction, you'll see how this particular lesson I'm going to be providing here relates to the information that I was communicating before in those particular videos. So let's start with this. First of all, let's start with getting a brush. There we go. And you may notice that compared to the other videos I've been making, I'm using a different version of Photoshop. I'm using CS2 actually, which is an older version, not CS8 or 9 rather, or 6. Sorry, I'm getting all my numbers mixed up. The reason being is I just like it. It's I like the lighter. I like the gray background as opposed to the black background. It's brighter, it's cheerier, and it's just something that I like. I just like using a simpler version of Photoshop because I've always, enjoyed this particular version of it. So, and for doing simple things like this, it's perfectly fine. Okay, this is what I'd like to bring to your attention. Let's label this version number A. This is version A right here, and take a look at at some of the basic fundamental aspects of what Nate is doing. Let's go ahead and shore up the construction of the character's skull. And what you're seeing here is that you want to be very precise with this, and Nate's done a pretty good job so far, but we see there's a little bit of area here that he's kind of missing on. And if you go over here to what we're going to label this as B, you can also notice that his construction is kind of a little bit shaky by missing out on that extra space that we have there in the skull. And this is really important, students. I really want to emphasize to you how important it is to get these basic fundamentals down if you are going to have meaningful progression with your character design work as it applies on a professional level with animation. Okay, this is very important. It may seem like it's not a big deal, but trust me, it is. The next thing I want to show you is his center line. What's happening with his center line is his center line is not centered. It's angled. Again, this is all a fundamental issue. Like everything that we're going to be going over here is just fundamentals. It's just really, you really need to, be conscious of this and get that center line to go through the center of your design and not off to the right and not leaning one way or the other or stuff like that. The other thing that you want to do is you want the ellipse of your eye line is here. It's a line that runs around the shape that you're creating for your skull of your character, and that's what you're going to be locking and committing the eyes to. And you can see also that eye line also functions. I'm going to just make a little abbreviation here as a point of articulation. And a point of articulation is where one shape connects to another and it moves or articulates off of that particular spot. So take a look at this. See where the jaw is? You want the jaw to articulate off of the eye line. That's what the point of articulation is all about in this particular aspect. And what's happening is that Nate needs to move that jaw up in here. He needs to make a commitment to the eye line. He's got to either do that or he's got to bring that eye line down here. Okay? So we're just going to go ahead and just going to go and just reconnect the shape of the jaw to where it needs to be. And you can see immediately it makes a drastic improvement. That's a big improvement over what he originally had. And now you've got some solidity to the character. The head is making sense. Now if you were doing something, let's say if you were purposely designing a character that was going to be like this, let's say, okay, like you had a, like you want to bring that jaw way down here like that and do something odd or unusual with the way you're constructing the character. That's one thing, okay. But when you're doing it like this, and even here, you can see the eye line right here would be something that would be, you would commit to that eye line down here. All right, it's hard to kind of get around that on a fundamental level. You want to be able to make sure that the jaw is connected to the head at a proper point, because that's basically what's happening in real life. I mean, your jaw is connected, the jawbone is connected to the skull in that particular, at that particular junction. Okay, so also you want to be mindful also that you want to avoid parallels. Parallel lines tend to make your design stagnant. So even if you're just slightly tapering the neck, that would be beneficial. And also you want to establish how and where the neck is articulated, connected to the body. So I'm just going to put like a little suggestion of an ellipse going around here. I think it'd probably be a good idea just to kind of like maybe sketch in ears for the character. All right, and also take a look at what's going on with the eyes. The eyes are not, the lines of the eyes are not closed. The problem with that is that we're not really sure where the shape of just where the shape of those eyes is. You can kind of like assume that it's going to be here and here and here and here, but that's not the proper way to do it. When you want to be very thorough when you are initially designing your character, and you don't want to use these little shortcuts and tricks and all that kind of stuff, because it's not going to do your design any good, really. It's just kind of, it doesn't do your design any good. You want to do it in a proper, fundamental fashion. And all these things that I'm telling you here are very important. If you're going to be showing your portfolio on a professional level, and you're submitting it for, for like to work with somebody on in a character design capacity, all these things are going to be something that the director, the supervisor, or whatever the case may be, that this is something that they're all going to be noticing. And another thing too is that you look at how far up the face the nose is. That's not a particularly good place for the nose in general. I would say like bring that nose down about right here, and you're going to have a much better, it's going to be much better, you can have a lot better looking character if you can get the nose away from the eye line. All right, also students, the eyebrow is not necessary to align the eyebrow as a shape, so you want to give a shape to that eyebrow. I'm just going to darken it in like this so you can kind of see the difference that this makes as far as just that eyebrow shape is concerned and how it affects your character. And I'm just going to go here, let's get that color, and let's go in here and let's just knock out the nose design a little bit. And you can see already, the improvement in that design already. Let's take it a step further, and we're going to go into the mouth, and let's see if we can't like connect the lines of the mouth and line everything up properly like this. All right, and you can see again how that mouth is kind of like going off, drifting off to the left as we look at it. And you want to just give everything, when you're doing it in this particular approach, you want to give everything nice symmetry. All right, the hair is not breaking the plane of the upper part of the skull, so that's okay. And check it out. Look at what we got. Let's take a look at what we had, and those small changes, those little changes, are making a big difference at the way that your character is reading. This is much more appealing. This is much more professional, and you want to have appealing designs. You want to come up with designs that people like to look at. And when you do this, when you take this approach and you get your basics down, your chances, the odds of you coming up with an appealing character are greatly improved. Now let's go on to design number B, and what you're going to be seeing over here is you're going to be seeing the same thing. Let's just go this way. I'm going to just zoom in on it a little bit like that. Let's take a look at this. And again, we don't see, here's the center line. The center line is not in the center, and it's going off at an angle. And he's doing the same thing as he did before. So we're just going to center that like that. It has potential. This design has a lot of potential. I really like what Nate is doing with the eyes. And you look at what he's doing with the eyebrows. The eyebrows are shape. They're a shape. So we're seeing an improvement, and we're seeing an improvement in the design appeal of the character. But the eyes are locked into that eye line. You lock it into that ellipse of the eye line like this. Okay, so get that ellipse going around here, and wherever that ellipse of the eye line is, at that point where it meets the edge of the skull, the circle of your skull, you want to bring that jaw up, connect it there, and let's just bring this up. I'm not going to change the proportions of the face for the most part. I mean, that's something that we could do maybe a little bit later on, but I'm just going to keep everything, just going to line everything up over here. Again, let's bring that nose down a little bit more, like that. We can probably bring the mouth down a little bit more, like this, I would say. Okay, and maybe I'm just going to take the liberty here of bringing that nose down even more than what we've got, a little bit more than that. And just punch up the line so you can see this a little clearer. And immediately you're starting to see a character with okay, I'm going to block out this stuff, the old nose, so you can see what's happening. Let's block this out. You can see what's happening now. I know I'm kind of doing this I'm doing this quickly, but that's okay. All right, I'm just trying to get the information to you, and not necessarily trying to impress you with my design abilities, because I'm just pretty much just working with what Nate has provided me with over here. Okay, and there we go. We got a much better looking character. If you wanted to, you could bring that. You could bring the eyes down a little bit more if you wanted to. You know, add a little neck to it so we can kind of see how where the neck connects to the head. And on a fundamental level, we can see that character right there is reading a lot better than what we had. This looks very amateurish. This looks a lot more professional. Okay, maybe you can maybe I can kind of get that nose to be a little bit more to what Nate originally had in mind. But you can see how that character's face, how the design appeal is significantly enhanced. I'm going to go back to A over here. I'm kind of seeing I think that jaw is getting a little bit, the side of the face is getting a little bit too protruded, so I'm going to just knock that back a little bit. Yeah, we'll just leave it that way. All right, that'll do it. All right, now let's go down to C, and what we got over here with C is, hold on one second, let's get this thing. There we go. Let's bring our brush up. There we go. Now what we got with C is this. You can take a look and you see the same problem as before. That center line is not in the center. And this is what happens when you don't use your fundamentals. This is what happens. You get these sketches that are skewed, and you're not getting everything lined up right, and it's not reading, and it's not appealing. And you don't even have to be a professional to take a look at this and see that, you know, there's some areas in the drawing that you could kind of plus a little bit, you know, and just kind of, you know, like that mouth should be here. That mouth should be right here. That nose, the center of that nose should be here. And look at the volume we've got on the side of the face over here compared to the volume that we've got over here. You've got a bigger area. You're not that far off with the chin, but you got a bigger area this way than you got over here. And again, the jaw is not connecting to the eye line. You're not closing off the eyes. And even if you're using this technique, you want to know, as far as the construction process is concerned, you want to know where the limits of the eye are, and where the skin, where the you know, like the flesh of the character, where it would begin. So if you move the nose over this way, if you move it to the right, you move the mouth over this way. I'm not playing around with the proportions or anything like that. I'm just leaving everything the way that it is. If you do this, you can see right away and develop this math and get that jaw to connect to the skull. His process is good. I can see his underdrawing, all that stuff. Again, we got to work on that circle a little bit more and get the ear up. The ear connects to the eye line. Okay, that's another thing you want to keep in mind. And normally the ear connects to the eye line. If you're going to be doing some strange characters that are, going to be kind of distorted and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. But what you want to do on a basic level is really pay attention to what's going on with your construction and with getting everything to line up properly. And once you do that, then you're on your way. Okay, great. That'll wrap it up for tonight. I just want to do something very quick and something quick and basic, and we will go on from here next time. So I just want to thank you for watching, and I want to encourage you to subscribe to the Animation Academy on YouTube. Also, please consider Patreon. Okay, we're trying to do something unusual and different and unique with Patreon. I think we're about the only ones out there that are developing an educational program like this. Very affordable. You have several different options about how you can interact with us. If you go to patreon.com and then add the Animation Academy after that, / the Animation Academy, you'll find us. Okay, we just started. We really haven't even told that many people about it yet. We're just kind of keeping it a little bit kind of close to the vest for the time being, but we will be getting a broader announcement out soon. I hope that you will consider signing up with us and being a part of this great new experience. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. We're going to be making these videos on a much more regular basis, and I'm looking forward to the next one, and I'm really looking forward to creating with you and interacting with you and having fun and learning and growing artistically and in many other ways as well, artistically and creatively. And speaking of creatively, keep creating, everyone. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye.